Hey, are you sleeping?
No, well, I was sleeping earlier, but I got up. I went and used the bathroom and was just laying there for a little bit, and I turned my Facebook on and I saw your message. Oh yeah, it's kind of in and out and trying to get healed up. Still real slow.
Well, after having surgery, you would be.
You what?
I said after having surgery, you would be.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a rough deal. Jeez. I don't know if I make much sense, but I'm trying.
You're good.
Oh, goodness. Oh, where are you?
I'm in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Oh, you're still in Cheyenne.
Yeah, I don't have enough to go anywhere, and I don't have anywhere to go. Anywhere
Oh,
that I go, I,
goodness.
I can't work, so I'm gonna be a financial burden on anybody I go to see. My friends are all broke, they can't take me in, and most of them live in Colorado or Nebraska, and I can't go to either one of those because I tried to go after the police in court. I was trying to collect evidence that they didn't do their jobs, and it's the blue line of bullshit.
Oh, oh, dear.
I needed somewhere positive to go, somewhere that people weren't screaming. They don't understand what a safe environment is. It's got to be positive, you know? If people are screaming at each
Exactly.
other, it tears me down to nothing.
Exactly.
My friend Rayanna, she wanted to help me last year. I spent the money to come up here and see her, and her husband said no. He's so mean to her. She's not allowed to talk to me. She's not supposed to answer her phone. She
That's just crazy.
she isn't allowed to have friends. He never knew the life. He's got good parents, you know. He lives in their house. Sometimes they pay rent, sometimes they don't. He drinks beer and smokes weed and gets down on her for her drinking. Rihanna's a really good woman. I mean, she turned in her predator. She didn't victimize the victim. She turned in the bad guy. Most people don't.
Oh,
But her husband got a hold of me tonight. He was threatening to call the cops. He he's not nice to her. She wanted to help, so she was going to try to sneak me into the RV every night. He's mean to her for being my friend, and he's mean to her for being Amy's friend.
what the heck?
Yeah, so she's the only friend in real life that I have, and
Does she live in Cheyenne?
she does. She's not allowed to see me or talk to me.
Oh my gosh.
She's not allowed to have friends.
Maybe she needs to get rid of that husband.
She
Goodness
can't.
gracious.
They got two kids
Can't tell
together.
somebody. Oh,
She has
you
nowhere to
can't.
go.
I didn't either. My he's the father to my 2 sons who are in their 30s now. But I mean, he threatened to kill me. He threatened to kill my kids. He abused me time after time. He'd go gambling out at the golf course and lose a bunch of money and come home and beat the shit out of me. And, and I had just had enough. I didn't want to take any more, but I had no self-esteem. I had no money. He controlled everything. But what was my saving grace were my 2 sons. I said, I do not want to raise my kids that way. I don't want them to grow up thinking that that's the right way to live. And so I got enough gumption to get the hell out of there. And I went to the Family Crisis Center because I didn't have anywhere to go. Oh, I said, I need help. I need to get away from him. He threw me in the wood-burning stove, and I don't know. But anyway, I finally got up enough guts to get rid of him, and I did. I've been single ever since. I've had long-term boyfriends, but I don't need any of that shit.
Right. I've never had a girlfriend. I don't really want one. I just need a friend,
Right.
Like when almost every place that I've gone, I've had to deal with an abuser or another. Tabby got rid of her kid's dad, though. She finally got rid of him. He just drank and was mean.
Gosh. I just can't imagine how women put up with that. And, I just don't. I know I did for 7 years.
I know a lot of men who
almost
do
8
it too.
years, and I'm like,
I know a lot of men who put up with that too.
And men do too. You're absolutely right. But our lives are valuable and too important, and time is too short. Excuse me, I needed a drink of water.
It's alright.
Oh my goodness.
A lot of people who never been homeless, they don't know how much we're victimized by bad laws or by cops who are just bullies. That's not to say there's no good cops out there. I couldn't find one.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, there was an officer named Jane LaRue. She was a good cop. She saved us when my little brother's dad broke my mom's neck.
Jeez.
I remember that. I was 5, I think.
Oh my God.
Mom had temporary custody of us, but Jane LaRue, she took us to the battered women's house. It was a safe house, and it doesn't exist anymore. They don't have any funding anymore for any of those. They closed down the one in Sydney, Nebraska. They closed down both of them in Longmont. I'm tired of living like this. I can't take care of myself, Christy.
Yes, you can, Sean. I know there's got to be a way somehow. There's a way. There's a will.
I need a safe place
need help right now.
Where there's no screaming so that I can function. And every time people get sick, or people die, or they have heart problems, or they're abusive, or they don't have the money.
I know it's hard. I'm sorry that I
Don't be sorry for that. Don't be sorry for that. Please don't be sorry for that.
I just felt bad. And then
Well, you had
after all of that
surgery.
was said and done, my mother's gonna be 81, and they found a mass on her brain, between her brain and her skull. And
Oh man.
I don't know. I think they thought she had a stroke or something, and anyhow, she had to spend, I don't know, maybe a week in ICU, and oh, it's just been a nightmare kind of deal here. But I know people can't help it if they get sick. Nobody can help it. It's just a part of what it is.
A lot of people wanted to help, they just didn't understand that the things that they do send me into panic attacks. There was a lot of people who got sick. Mandy Hughes, she got sick and her husband lost his job. And she had warrants out because she was assaulted and the cops won't help her. She's got a crazy drunk lady after her. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to dump this all on you. All of these people that wanted to help, they weren't able to help because they got their own stuff going on. And then they tell me all about that, and then I worry about them.
Some way or another, everything's gonna work out alright. I know it will. I just know it will.
People keep saying that, but without help, I need a friend. Rihanna's not allowed to be my friend.
Well, I'm your friend, Sean. I know you don't hardly know me. At least you've met me. You know what my face looks like.
I did met you. You gave me a hug at the truck stop in Buffalo, I remember. I got off the bus and you gave me a hug and you gave me some money, so I remember. It was nighttime and there was a McDonald's next door and it was the Maverick.
Yeah, you're right.
I remember everything.
I remember all of that.
I don't want to remember any of this.
What?
I don't want to remember any of this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not you. Just the cruelty. I want to... It's hard to even find people that are sober. America's overrun with meth and alcohol. I don't fit in, I don't do either.
Drugs.
Do what?
And prescription drugs.
Yes, ma'am, I stay away from those because they take my brain away and people don't like me when I'm on pills.
Yeah.
I'm not nice when I'm on pills. Pills don't fix my problems. Pills don't get me a roof over my head. They don't take away... I mean, I relive all of this shit every day because I don't have positivity. I remember all of it.
Gotta come up with something.
I'm trying. Tabby's would have been perfect if Josh hadn't been there, but she didn't kick him out until I already had to leave state because they didn't keep their word, and I don't hate them for it. They're not bad people for it. She's a mother of 6, you know? And they were trying so hard to make Josh happy so that he would stop being mean to everyone, and he just wouldn't. Miss Peaches couldn't take me in because she had to be afraid of losing her housing. It's not government housing. She works hard to pay her rent, you know?
Aw.
She's got 2 boys. They're absolutely wonderful. Her youngest calls me Grandma.
Oh. Oh.
I missed them.
It's cute.
And my cousin, her husband was doing bad things to the kids because he's stuck on meth. And
Ugh.
they were going to help me last year, and I pulled my end of the bargain. I babysat like I said I would. When it came time for them to keep their word, they didn't. My little sister was going to try to help too, but she has problems with that. I miss her, I really do. I miss my niece.
Where is she?
She's in Chapel, Nebraska. When the cops realized I was trying to prove that they refused to do their jobs for a whole year before Natalie was killed, they went out of their way. Oh my God. I had to chase down an officer for... I'm the only person I know who's ever chased down an officer. It's supposed to go the other way around, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they were talking to me. Finally, a few days later, they had their flashlights in my face. So I pointed my flashlight back in theirs. They tried to kick me out of town. I just needed them to do their jobs. Natalie would still be alive. That's the problem with people who are on drugs. They're fickle. Christine, she got into housing, and she went from wanting to help to being extremely cruel, and I'm mean to people back now. I can't afford to let them walk all over me like that.
Yeah.
Christy,
Huh?
you know, Dan Faber spent probably close to $2,000 on me last year. That wasn't even enough to cover the expenses of living because all of my money was going to the courts and traveling and fulfilling their obligations for them assaulting me. He didn't understand. I needed someone to talk to, someone to listen, to understand. He didn't try to understand. He never been through it. Rihanna's been through it. I'm sorry.
How do you know Dan?
He got a hold of me after Natalie died. He was one of those people that, well, probably like Shannon and everybody else, they're all into them death shows, and, you know, you as well, but, you know, that doesn't make you bad people. It just freaks me out. I've never been into that stuff, you know. I mean, I think human life is precious, and that was the most important thing to me. I just wanted Natalie to be happy, but I needed people to stop hurting me.
Right.
And then she died and it got worse. I couldn't think of anything to do to get the people to stop without her help, or her sister's help, or Maddie's help. And they all pretended like it wasn't happening. And then she died and it got worse.
Man. Just a nightmare.
I wish it was a nightmare,
That's,
'cause you can wake up from a nightmare.
I know.
I know, 'cause I have nightmares every night. And I wake up and I'm still in it. There's no consequences for these people.
What? How do they say mean things to you on Facebook or what?
They don't just say mean things to me on Facebook, ma'am. They assaulted me repeatedly. That's the thing. By the time Tim Beeson texted me in 2017, I'd already been assaulted a few times. He was just the first one to outright do it in a fashion that I could prove it. 'Cause when you don't have your camera out and ready when people start assaulting you, you don't have the evidence. It's not like I knew that these people were going to assault me when they did, you know? And then when she
And this
died,
was all in Colorado, right?
and Nebraska,
Oh, okay.
the police in Colorado and Nebraska refused to take a report from me for over a year before she died, you know?
Jeez.
If they had done their jobs. So they did everything in their power to try to peg me as crazy so that it justified them not doing their jobs.
Well, how did Natalie get with this guy that killed her? I don't understand any of that.
I don't know either. She wasn't a part of my life after I left Virginia. Just the rumors had people doing such mean things, you know? I couldn't see any of my friends or family. Most of them threw me away because I'm fucking non-stop panic attack. I'm freaking out because I needed them to help. They gave me pretty words like, oh, it'll turn out fine in the end. It's not turning out fine. Natalie's dead. I can't see any of my loved ones. I can't afford my vehicle. The insurance is lapsed. I have no gas. The only friend that I have here isn't allowed to see me. She gets treated like shit for being my friend.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. You know, my dad's really scolded me. He said, "You're smarter than that." When I was putting up with the abuse, and I said, "Well, I have 2 kids. I have nowhere to turn." You know, he's got all the money, anything that I made or he made went in his account. Bullshit. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not gonna live that way anymore. Gotta stop that.
I live off of good people. It's terrible because most of them, they're broke. And a lot of them, they're really not that good of people. Like, if they hadn't felt as if him giving me money entitled him to force his opinion on me, but he didn't have to hear anything I had to say. He took other people's sides without trying to find out the situation. I've been through over 2 years of hell. Natalie rescued me from the Boulder police. I couldn't take care of myself, and they took advantage of that. I don't know the right thing to do, but Christy, I've taken 39 years of abuse almost. I was positive when I was in Boulder, and I was homeless almost the whole time. I worked almost the whole time. I was a good man.
I know.
A lot of people
Do you
didn't
think you're going to
understand.
ever be able to work again?
No, ma'am.
No.
No, I need a safe place in order to wind down and function, and I don't have one. And then I end up having panic attacks because I don't have any money and other people are taking care of me. There were so many threats against my life. It's so fucked up.
Dang. That's just so not cool.
I agree.
Oh my god. Not cool.
A lot of my friends who want to help, they're not allowed to because of their abusers. Tabby, she could have helped me while I was at her place, but her ex, he's just so abusive and craving for attention, so I didn't get the help that I needed there, and that's not talking shit on Tabby. She's such a good woman. I've known her for so many years. And Rihanna's a good woman too, and she's in the same situation. I don't have a Kleenex. I'm sorry, that's gross.
That's okay, Sean. So are you just sitting in your vehicle, just sad?
Yeah, every night. When I was living at Ken and Leah's, it was sad too, 'cause Ken's really nice. He's a good man, you know, but he does bad things for his wife 'cause he loves her. They're not actually married, but he's also a jerk to her son, who's also autistic. It was tough. I still rescued people. I still rescued Bailey when I was at Ken and Leah's, even through all of the turmoil, and I still rescued OSHA. After Natalie died, I still rescued Desiree twice. I rescued her twice. Remember that woman that I was asking you if you still had the car? The one
Uh-huh.
whose wrist was cut? She died.
Yes.
She died.
Oh. From cutting her wrist?
No, she had a seizure.
Oh.
She had stress seizures. Rihanna has those too. I'm worried that she'll have another seizure and die as well. Her husband says he's trying to hold the family together, but he treats her like shit. How do you hold a family together by abusing people?
And controlling and
That's exactly
control.
what it is. I grew up in the
Yeah,
system. You know, we went into classes to learn all of that stuff when I was growing up, you know. You go from
uh-huh.
one group meeting to another, you go to your domestic abuse meetings with one of the doctors, and then one of the nurses comes in and she'll be your sexual abuse counselor, and sometimes it's a boy, sometimes it's a girl. And when you're in institutions, you go to one of those classes after another. I got to learn all this stuff firsthand as a kid, and people pretend like I'm bullshitting. No, this stuff came from people who were educated. This is what they were educated in. I knew Natalie was high risk. I knew she was. I was afraid of that call. I was afraid for a whole year that I was going to get that call. And people just wouldn't me alone. They couldn't understand that the rumors just got worse and worse. Like, it started off with stalking. And then when she made that post on her Facebook, you can see she didn't call me a child molester and she didn't call me a rapist. But all the things that I had to go through, and she called me a stalker in Virginia, and I don't even know who it was in that house that called me a stalker. I don't. I just know that when I got back to Boulder, people were calling me a stalker, and it just warped out of hand. And when she made that post on her Facebook, it immediately went to, "You're a child molester. He looks like a child molester. He looks like a rapist." And I'm sorry, I'm not pretty, you know? She made that post the day after I exposed her dad with an email she sent me. I was tired of being treated like a child molester for something I didn't do.
Exactly.
It never stopped. People got worse. The cops got involved. They refused to take my report. Over 100 officers took part in it.
Jeez.
Between when I was given the protection order and when the Boulder police assaulted me, there was at least 8 or 9 officers involved. And then when they assaulted me on January 6th, there were at least 15 officers involved, and not all of them were assaulting me. Only one officer actually physically assaulted me. The other two basically just held me while he assaulted me. They weren't putting me into physical pain. Officer Lolatai was. He was getting off on it. He tried to break my wrist and he tried to break my leg. People don't understand that I can't function with people snapping around me when I'm like this. I need a safe environment. When I was at Lana's, well, just like everywhere I go that has autistic people, when I was at Ken and Leah's, the person I got along with the best was Leah's son. When I was at Lana and Amanda's, the person that I got along with best was Amanda's daughter. Her daughter's really smart. So's Leah's son.
Yeah.
They are so smart, but they're treated like they must be wrong. The system is no place for kids, so when Ken is tackling Leah's son down to the ground, what's weighing in my mind at that point in time is that boy gonna be better off with the system? And the answer is no. My dad was physically abusive, but I was never raped by my dad. He never would have done anything like that. He's a better man than that, at least.
Yeah.
Natalie's dad's not. But when I went into the system, I went through that shit anyway. Me and Natalie were friends because we went through the same hell. She used to think she was in love with me. Isn't that crazy? She thought
Wow.
she was in love with me, and I'm the one who's treated like the stalker. I just needed them to leave me alone. I needed them to call off the dogs. I needed someone to take a look at the evidence with me. Nobody would. None of my public pretenders. None of the officers. Nobody. I lit that fire at Ken and Leah's to try to force an outside agency to take a look. I lit that fire, and then I threatened to kill the President of the United States. I couldn't think of anything else. All of the people who were trying to help me and go in with me, they couldn't.
Wow.
I needed someone
So
familiar
if
to
you
sit with
were
me.
to go to Nebraska right now, they would stop you?
Yes, they would stop me, they would arrest me, they would take my evidence, and their frame job would be complete. I still have evidence of their wrongdoing, of the massive quantity of head games that these people are playing. They wanted to play victim because I used harsh words. I'm not going to feel bad for using those harsh words because of the shit they put me through. I didn't want to use those harsh words. I didn't. I just wanted people to come forward and tell the
I just
truth.
keep thinking with the way Wyoming is, and I know it's been cold more than normal, but there's just got to be, when it warms up, it's like everything kind of opens up jobs and everybody gets on a little bit better level, and people can, I don't know.
I
Just
can't
wondering if
work.
there's.
I can't function because I can't see my loved ones, Christy. That's been the
That's
problem
the main
all along,
thing.
is that I can't see my loved ones.
Can they come to you?
No, ma'am, they're all broke.
Oh,
Most of the people that didn't abandon me, it's because they've been through this. They're homeless too. I was so excited too because I was gonna come up with some money. I had my disability coming in. I was gonna try to get some property so that I could grab the ones that just needed a safe place, like I do. I needed help. These people just wouldn't help, not even the one whose jobs it was to help. I can't afford a lawyer. They did this stuff across multiple counties, and I don't have any money. I can't hire a lawyer. I have to do all the work myself, and if they take the evidence, that's it. I can't function. I make the videos because I can't function. I need help. I need a safe environment.
Like if there was somebody out on a ranch or a farm or something like that that needed help and they could give you a place to stay, you would
I
be
can't
able to.
physically work. I can't physically or mentally work, ma'am. I
Okay.
relive the shit that they put me through every single day. 'Cause I'm still living the consequences of it, ma'am. Everything got taken
Yeah,
away,
I
and I try to
understand.
explain this.
I got it.
I need the abuse to stop. I need my disability back, and I need them to leave me alone.
So, we need the abuse to stop. So, is there any way, I mean, can you cut all contact with those that are abusive?
Ma'am, what I'm saying is that I'm abused right now when Rihanna being separated, where she's not allowed to have friends, she's cut off from her friends. That's what's happening to me right now, ma'am. I can't see my friends. I can't see my family. I don't have an income.
What is it going to take to get your disability back?
I have to go to Colorado and take the abuse from those people. And then I have to go to Nebraska and I have to take the abuse from the police there too. Nobody was willing to go in with me to make them look at that. Nobody. Not until 9 months after Natalie was already dead. And even then, the police refused. They refused to take a report from Mandy Hughes. They refused to take one from Karamia. They refused to take one from me and Miss Peaches. They just kept on refusing. And people keep telling me, you need to go do this and you need to go do that. And I didn't have the money to go to all the places they wanted me to go. And when I was able to go, they refused to let me.
But, I mean, getting back on the disability in order to focus on that to
I
try to
have
get some income
I have
coming in.
warrants
What
in
does that take? Do you have to go?
I'm telling you right now that you can't get disability back if you have warrants out, and I have warrants out in Nebraska and Colorado.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
They did
I
everything
didn't
they
quite.
could to force me into a panic attack until I had to do something drastic, and it's amazing that I made it until August. They threatened my life repeatedly. Their friends threatened my life repeatedly. They harassed me for a whole year before she died, and then they harassed me even worse after.
Oh, jeez.
I don't get to see my loved ones, ma'am.
I understand. I didn't understand the disability thing that worked or what had to take place in order to get that going, and I didn't know any of that. So I
See,
asked.
that's the thing is I end up explaining it to a whole bunch of people who are busy giving me ideas that they think will work, but at least you're not cutting me off. Shannon Alvarado,
Oh,
she would continue to talk over me and say the same thing 5 or 6 times, not hearing what I said. And then the next time we talked, I'd try explaining it again, and she'd say, well, you didn't tell me that. And then she'd do it again the next time, and then she would do it again the next time. And I have to forgive her for it because she's an alcoholic. But she's mad at me for saying she's an alcoholic.
I honesty.
So does
I like
she.
your straightforwardness. Yeah,
People do like it until it's in their direction, until I'm honest about them, and then they call me a liar. They say, Sean, I always respected you because you're honest. I didn't want to have to be honest about Shannon. I didn't want to have to be honest about Christopher Tapp or Ken and Leah. It took me a lot to be able to lie. But I did force myself to lie. I had to. I had to lie and say that I would hurt Tim or Ted Bollinger because it was the only way to try to keep Alicia and Miss Shelley and Miss Danica safe. But the police not willing to do their jobs. I mean, that really gave Danica and Shelley only one option, and that was to side with Ted. My friend up here, Rihanna, I was trying to, after that pocket dial in January of last year when Shelley pocket dialed me, it sounded like she was getting beaten to death. It didn't sound like a pocket dial. And Officer Michael Beard, he was waiting outside like he'd been there all along. He was right down the street, driving ultra slow. He'd been driving around the house for days. When I started talking to him, he said that it was out of his jurisdiction and I needed to call my local senator. And the next day, he harassed Candace at work, and when she was taking her kids to school, and her landlord threatened to throw her out in the snow if she didn't get rid of me. That's why I tried to kill myself in January. I couldn't force the police to take my report. I couldn't force them to look at the evidence. They kept using jurisdiction as an excuse not to. And then they were able to do whatever they wanted across jurisdictions. They were able to help the Bollingers frame me from across jurisdictions. They were able to help the Bollingers threaten and harass me across jurisdictions. And people think I'm crazy when I say it. They won't take a look at it. Joanna Taylor came to see me in Longmont, and I was trying to get them to take a look at it. At least just one person take a look at it, but nobody would. Everybody kept saying, I believe you, and that's the problem with being honest, is that everybody believes you instead of taking a look. I needed them to not believe me and take a look. The police believed me, that's why they didn't take a look. They knew I was right. They were trying to cover for the wrongdoing of Officer Lolatai, including 2 officers who assaulted me in August in Boulder County Jail, and they killed a man. I wrote as much as I could down in notebooks. Lana and Amanda had my notebooks up there. I'm pretty sure they threw the notebooks away because I was documenting why I was having panic attacks, so I was writing down Lana freaking out every morning. I was writing that down in those notebooks too. They finally gave my computer back. I needed the evidence that was on it a year ago. You probably don't have a pen with you.
I don't right now. What do you need? Can you text
can.
Uh,
It's
do I
the
need to
name.
write something down?
Yes, ma'am. It's the names of the officers who assaulted me and some of their other victims. The one who assaulted me was Officer Lolatai. He also assaulted someone named Sammy Leon Lawrence IV. And the officers, the sheriff's deputies, two of them that assaulted me were James O'Brien and Adam Lunn. They killed a man named Demetrius Shankling.
And are they all out of Boulder?
Yes, ma'am, those ones are, but police across the state took part. They wouldn't take a report about any of the threats against me by the civilian population because it's all out of their jurisdiction. And they wouldn't take a report about the police. Matter of fact, a few of them got very irate with me for even trying. They kept telling me that I have to tell them. I can't make a report unless I tell them first, and they can decide if I get to make a report.
Jeez.
When I was trying to find a safe place for Miss Shelley out of the state of Colorado so Ted Bollinger couldn't get a hold of her, I called my friend Rayanna up here. A lot of people treated me like shit because I made people cry. I didn't make people cry. I told them what was going on and they cried. When I cried, there was no remorse from them. They told me I needed to man up. I needed to do it myself. I did do it all myself. I collected all the evidence. Not every bit of it. There were people who sent me screenshots. Shannon Alvarado, she's the one that let me know what Shelley's friend was up to. That she had been slandering my name the whole time in these Facebook groups. She'd been slandering my name.
Oh, great.
And Karamia, she's the only one who could have been the one that was turning me in on Facebooks and all of that. She's the only one who was there for all of that. She was the only one in all of those groups that could be leaking that information. To these people who watch these death shows, it was just a game to them. When I was at Sally Trion's in Pueblo, there was a woman there who was pregnant. She killed her son last year. She was on the news. Officers O'Brien and Lunn were on the news for killing Demetrius Shankling. It's not okay. I can't stop the pain. I don't have any familiarity. I need a place where I'm not constantly getting snapped at. I needed help protecting myself against these predators. They did everything they could to try to force me into a panic attack and ignore all the threats against me. I threatened to take her family to court. And I threatened to kill the people that were threatening to kill my family. I have proof that these people are friends with the Bollingers that were threatening my life and threatening to kill me. But nobody would take a look. None of my public pretenders, they didn't care. They did exactly what I said they were going to do if I couldn't get someone to go in with me. Police across the state of Colorado took part in it. That's what happens when you try to turn in a cop. That's what happens when you're accused of stalking and raping and child molesting and murdering. You don't get due process of law.
But you've done absolutely none of that. None of that.
That doesn't matter.
Well, it does matter, though.
It doesn't, because they had court without me. They kept on postponing court and postponing court and postponing court for months and months and months of police officers refusing to do their jobs. I was too scared to talk to the cops by the time I was assaulted by Derek Apodaca. The Bollinger family are evil. Her mom is evil too. I'm not the one that drove Natalie to suicide. Her family is. And they drove me to it too. I don't want to live anymore, ma'am. People keep, when I say that, they tell me, don't say that, Sean, but put yourself in my shoes.
I know you're tired.
I am.
I know you're tired.
If there's a Jesus, he should take me now. I've been a loyal servant for my entire adult life almost. I don't even believe in God. I believe in the possibility of God because I'm a scientist. I chose Jesus because of how he treated human beings. That's who I chose to try to emulate when I decided I was going to be a better person. But I thought of him as a man. If I think of Jesus as a God, I absolutely hate him. If I think of him as a man who died 2,000 years ago, then it's alright that all of this stuff happened that he didn't do anything about, because how could he? He's dead. But if he's a God, he could do something about it, you know? And I lost my Bible. I can't find it. I used to read it every day.